that point the wind will be in their face. So the only problem I see is that if there's a lead pack out there and the runners are helping each other, shield each other from the wind, and then they're going to do okay. But if one runner is out there by himself, it's really going to hurt him.
Okay, Alberto, we'll be talking more with him as the race progresses. Right now, let's go to the women's start line with Yolanda Fernandez. Yolanda?
The runners are all out here trying to warm up this morning. As you mentioned, it's quite cool. But the women's starting line is quite popular for another reason, and that's because this is where they have all the portalettes, and you can see all the runners getting ready this morning, men and women alike, preparing for this very long race as they try to stay warm. Let's talk to a couple of women to find out just exactly how they train and where they're from. Ma'am, where are you from this morning?
I'm from here. I'm local.
So you're just a recreational runner out here today?
That's right.
How did you prepare for the run?
Oh, I've been running for a couple of weeks now, and I've been up to 6 miles total.
So you have a certain goal. You're not going to try to make the whole 15K?
Yes, I am. I'm going to walk it, part of it, but I'm going to try to make the whole thing.
Good for you. Well, good luck. You know, a lot of people out here today aren't the professional runners. They're not the world-class runners. They're just regular people out here to have fun. Let's talk to some of the other women. Ma'am, we're with Channel 8. Wanted to ask you about how many miles you run a day and how do you prepare for this run today?
I run about between 4 to 6 miles a day, and I just try to pick up my pace a little bit and run a little bit further certain days.
Now, tell me about the weather this morning. How is it going to affect you?
It's great. It's a little windy, but it'll be okay. I mean, this is great weather to run in. Perfect.
Yes, okay. Another one of those people that's ready to come out here and give it her all and give it her best shot. You can see that the runners are all lined up here on the street getting ready for the start. We're still about 45 minutes away from the start of the women's race. So at this point, let's go ahead and go to Chris and find out what's going over in his department. Chris?
Okay, thank you very much, Yolanda. Coming up next in our pre-race report, we'll join our own race guru, Dick Crippen, who will join me from his anchor position above the finish line. We're going to talk about the elite runners who have come to the race this morning, the men and the women who make this a significant stop on the road racing circuit. It's next when our coverage continues.
The 1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic is brought to you.
The start of this morning's 16th Gasparilla Distance Classic. It really is a beautiful morning. And as you look at the men's starting line, many of these elite runners will be showing up just about now to start their pre-race warm-up rituals. And starting his own pre-race warm-up ritual is Dick Crippen, who's been around for all of these Gasparilla Distance Classic races, a runner in his own right. I'm not sure what that right is, but he's with us this morning. Good morning, Dick.
Thank you very much, Chris, and good morning to you. It is a beautiful, beautiful day here on Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa. The sun is coming up, so we've been talking about the cold weather. I think that is about to leave us. It should get warmer and warmer as the race goes on. As a matter of fact, warm enough later on that there might be a little bit of a problem with some of the runners. They'll have to watch that heat as it builds. I was looking over the field of male runners, and it is one of the most impressive fields I have ever seen here at the Gasparilla Distance Classic on Bayshore Boulevard. It is a very flat race. As you know, they have eliminated the hill at the end of the race, so that really gives them a chance to get out there and push hard and have a very, very good kick at the end. And this is the first year the Kenyans will be running in the Gasparilla race. And that's very important because they have dominated 2 major marathons last year. Add to that the always strong Mexican contingent and past champions from Norway and Brazil. What you end up with is a very strong international field.
Defending champion Valdemar dos Santos from Brazil is back after winning last year's race with a time of 43:10. That's 5th best in the 16-year history of the Gasparilla. Dos Santos made his move last year just past the 5-mile mark, breaking away from 2-time champion John Halverson and Mexican long-distance champion Alejandro Cruz.
Dos Santos claims the win in the 15th annual Gasparilla Distance Classic.
The course is okay. Competition is going to be very tough. Arturo Barrios will be here. The South Africans will be here. The Mexicans are very strong.
Halverson, who finished 3rd in last year's race, will be back to reclaim his title from Dos Santos. Like most years, he'll have to outdistance the finest field of elite runners ever assembled for a Gasparilla race.
I don't expect a slow pace, put it that way, right from the start. Just the runners, I know some of them like to run fast from the beginning, and I certainly don't expect a slow pace, and if that's the case, then then often it becomes just a matter of running and hanging on, really. I mean, it's just, you know, it'll be an honest race right from the beginning, or we'll all go all out, basically.
After breaking away from the pack to lead the race for just over a mile last year, Alejandro Cruz returns to Gasparilla as the #1 ranked runner in Runner's World magazine. Cruz from Mexico finished 5th in last year's race, but had great showings in Jacksonville's 15K river run and Boulder's 10K run. Also here from Mexico for his first Gasparilla, Arturo Barrios, the world record holder in the 10,000 meters. Recently, Mexican teams have done well in Gasparilla, placing a runner in the top 5 of the past 6 years. But this year's debut of Kenyan's team could mean a new course record for Gasparilla. 3-time Boston Marathon champion Ibrahim Hussein leads the strong Kenyan team. Countryman Benson Masia is ranked 2nd in Runner's World and is the 2-time champion of the Honolulu Marathon. After a strong showing in the Olympics last summer, the Kenyans are ready to dominate road racing worldwide. As for the American delegation, Olympian Steve Spence, who won the marathon trials last year, has always run well at Gasparilla, finishing 2nd in 1991. The 1989 champion Keith Brantley from Gainesville will also figure in this year's race. He finished 9th last year, but is said to be in great shape.
A very strong field of men runners here for the Gasparilla Distance Classics. This should be just about a perfect day for those top world-class runners. Last night, Chris, the Kenyan team was all sitting at one table at the pasta loading, and it was really a sight to see. They were very, very intense on discussing what they had seen, what they had learned about the course. And, of course, with the rainy weather yesterday, a lot of them didn't go out and run the full course. They kind of rode around it. So there was a lot of discussion. This is a very close team, and I think one that we're going to have to watch through the day.
No question about that, Dick. The late withdrawal of number 2 seed Jill Hunter has hurt the top end of the women's field, but last year's champ Wilma Van Ona still has a tough group of elite runners to pass before she can regain her women's championship. The women's field will be the most competitive ever at Gasparilla. Australian Lisa Andiaki was the second-best marathoner in 1992. She won the New York Marathon, setting a new course record. American Judy St. Hilaire, who finished 2nd here last year, ran the world's fastest 15 kilometers at Tulsa in 49.10. She figures to set the pace, along with last year's winner, Wilma Van Ona, who lives in El Paso, Texas, but hails from the Netherlands.
Well, I know it's a very competitive field, more than last year, so well, the way I want to run is just go out with them and, yeah, well, not set the pace, but follow them. Let's see how I end up. I'm prepared that it's going to be a fast race, so, yeah, we'll see.
Others to watch in this race, 6th ranked Wanda Penfield from Poland. She has finished as high as 5th 2 years ago and won in Boston in 1991. Another newcomer to Gasparilla is Olga Appel from Mexico. She finished 2nd in Tokyo at the half marathon. Well, there isn't a cloud in the sky here in downtown Tampa. In fact, the only thing in the sky is Eagle 8, 3 pigeons, and about 100 vultures right over my head. I hope they're not taking this personally or are hungry this morning. It should be a great morning for this race. I covered a couple of Baltimore marathons. They used to run that in December when the temperatures were in the low 30s. So as weather conditions go, this really isn't too bad. And Dick, having covered this race for so many years, I think you know that with the international bulk of runners here, they're used to running in all sorts of conditions. This actually isn't too bad.
No, actually, I think this will play to their advantage, to be honest with you, Chris. This is the kind of weather where you tend to work up a sweat, but it evaporates very fast, and it stays very comfortable throughout the entire race. As one of the amateur runners said a little bit earlier on to Tom Corrin, you know, he's running in about 6 inches of rain and much colder than this. But when the sun is out like that, at least it feels a little bit warmer. This is a good, brisk morning, and for a morning run, I don't think you're going to get weather any better than this. And as you say, these athletes have trained in all sorts of conditions all over the world. The Mexicans train very, very high in altitude, while the Kenyans, of course, train more in the desert-type conditions. It's going to be a very fast race, Chris.
All right, Dick, we're moving in on the start of this race in about half an hour from now. We'll join weatherman Steve Udelson next. He'll tell us what the weather will be like when over 15,000 feet hit the pavement here in the Gasparilla Distance Classic. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our pre-race coverage. It's about 52 degrees, no clouds, gorgeous morning. And should any of the runners get delirious and happen to slip into the bay this morning, I'm told the water temperature is 62 degrees, so it'll actually be warmer if they make a wrong turn. As for the official weather, let's go to Steve Udelson. Steve.
Hey, thanks, Chris. We are looking at a very cool start to the day, no doubt about that. But with the sunshine, yeah, things are going to be warming up. The runners, well, all sorts of outfits going on. Mother is necessity of invention here, and check this out. This is Howard Apple from Tampa. Howard, what do you have here?
This is a garbage bag, the latest in warm-up equipment here.
One of the cheapest outfits, I'd imagine.
Right. Definitely disposable before the race.
Now, this is just something to warm up and get your body fluids
Right.
going and the blood pumping and all?
Yes.
This is not going to affect you, the wind?
No, I think there's going to be a tailwind going out, and you're coming back into the wind. It'll be a little slow coming back.
Okay. Now, folks from up north, this is really not going to bother them. I understand you came down from New Hampshire.
Right, we're in New Hampshire.
And you go for marathons and whatnot, and this is actually ideal weather for you.
We're going to be running Boston in about 2 months, and this is a perfect day if it would be this weather in Boston.
Unfortunately, it's a little cool for Tampa. Thank you very much. Good luck. As for the actual forecast, we are looking for temperatures to climb well into the 50s to near 60 by the time the race is over. And again, most of the concern today is on the way back, coming back Bayshore Boulevard. We're going to see a lot of wind right in their faces, so that's not going to be very good. Let's go back to Chris Thomas.
Okay, Steve, and part of our coverage today will be supplied by Judd Chapin up in Eagle 8. We'll get some beautiful pictures on a beautiful morning. Let's go check in with the pilot right now. Judd?
Chris, this is Judd up here. Chris, we got a little bit of a technical problem audio. I hope you can hear me okay. We're above downtown right now. You can see all the runners getting prepared here.
All right, well, Judd's still airborne. That's the good news. His communication in the air isn't so hot right now, but we'll get back to him. I can guarantee you he's there. I can see him, as a matter of fact. And we'll get back to Judd, and we'll have some great aerial views of this huge field here later this morning. You know, with something like 15,000 runners out here this morning, you might be inclined to think that they all look alike. After all, running is running. Some people just move faster than others. However, in that mass of bobbing heads and pumping legs is a man who needs to preoccupy his hands. A man who doesn't just run, a man who keeps some balls in the air while he's running down the street. Let's check in with Wes Argenton and that story.
At his Busch Garden show, Albert juggles while ice skating. He can juggle anything, balls of any kind, rings, frisbees, and even tennis rackets. He holds the world record for keeping more rings in the air at one time than anyone else ever, 12. But Albert isn't satisfied with just being part of an amazing act. He is also a world-class athlete. He runs a 4:32 mile while juggling, a 4:10 when just running, and last year he averaged 6 minutes and 15 seconds per mile in the Gasparilla. He's slowing down a bit this year.
I'm shooting for a 7-minute pace in Gasparilla, only because I've switched my emphasis from distance training to track and speed and sprints. So I'm a little bit slower, but I figure about 6:35 if the weather stays cool.
Now, if you think that's pretty impressive, consider this picture of Albert Lucas in the 1988 Guinness Book of World Records. At one time, he held the world record for high hurdle joggling in the 110-meter and 400-meter races.
I held both records until recently. A decathlete from Cal State Irvine beat my 110-meter record.
Albert says in the beginning, race directors didn't want jogglers in the competition for fear they would drop things during the run and people would slip and runners would fall. But that has never happened.
We just don't miss. We have a control over it. I've never missed in a marathon or a Gasparilla race. But it took a while to learn the technique of getting jostled and bumped.
And keep 3 balls in the air while running through the drink stops in the longer races. But you don't stop and you don't drop, not if you're a world-class joggler like Albert Lucas. Look for him in the race this Saturday and try to give him a little room. And if you're out at Busch Gardens, stop in and see his show. I guarantee you will be amazed.
Well, I am amazed, Wes. There are all sorts of characters among this field for the Gasparilla 15K, and we're drawing ever closer to the race. When we return, we'll head out to the men's start line again to check in with Tom Corrin. The wheelchair competition begins a few minutes ahead of the Gasparilla 15K, and Tom will tell us about that when we return. Closer, and we're going to join Tom Corrin now, who's ready for the start of the wheelchair competition down at the men's start line. Tommy?
Thank you, Chris. And we're joined right now with Connie Hansen, who, of course, has won this event two years in a row, going for the three-peat. How does it feel?
Well, it feels a little windy out here.
How about the conditions? What kind of conditions? What does this do for you?
Well, of course, it turns some things in the tactic a little bit. But I guess the most important thing is that the field this year is a lot stronger than it was last year. Probably a little stronger than the race was 2 years ago in the female division.
And we talked just a couple of days ago, and you talked 1992 was a banner year for you, and a kind of downtime up until now.
I guess many of the racers who have been racing for many years, they have to take a break sometime, and I think I took a little easy autumn, but I'm still pretty good.
Well, good luck to you and everybody else, and hope it's a very safe race.
Thank you.
Okay, Connie Hansen, and right now we're going to head over here to the men's lead truck. This is where all the action is going to be for myself and Alberto Salazar. Alberto, we're getting very, very close now to the race. What goes on in the mind of a racer at this stage?
A lot of nervousness at this point. You really just want to start the race. You've done a lot of training, a lot of preparation for this, and last 5 to 10 minutes when you're at the line there and you just got to sit there and wait, that's the worst time.
Okay, and now it's time for us to go back to Chris Thomas. Chris?
All right, Tommy, we'll see you at the finish line after the race. Good luck to all of our competitors this morning. Now let's join our anchor team for today's race, Dick Crippen and Tony Revis.
Thank you very much, Chris and Tony. Welcome once again to Tampa, Florida. This is a beautiful morning, and it is a little bit brisk, but, you know, you've been around running a long time, and I think, quite honestly, this is going to be pretty ideal. The wind coming back will be the big question.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The first 5 miles, they'll be running with the wind, then they'll come in back, and you saw Alberto's face throughout the morning in the first part of the program. So it's brisk, but standing around isn't what you want to be doing, and I think the runners are going to wish it almost this were a marathon. They could run very fast today, depending on how much that wind bothers them in the last part.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see exactly how they do that, and we're going to take a look at some more of the preparations going on. We're less than 20 minutes from the start of the 15K. That means we're less than 10 minutes from the start of the wheelchairs, and we'll be back with our Gasparilla coverage live from Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa, live on Channel 8. And welcome once again to Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa, Florida. We made the comment we were less than 10 minutes away from the start of the wheelchairs. Now we are really coming up at less than 5 minutes away from the start of that race. And this year's wheelchair field is really a look at some very familiar names in the wheelchair racing, including many past champions. And as always, they provide some of the most exciting moments at the finish line.
If you remember last year's race, there was confusion 2 blocks from the finish line. Racers failed to change lanes, and in the mad dash of lane changing, Jim Knab sprints to the lead and outlasts Frenchman Mustafa Badid at the finish line. Knab knows he'll have no such interference to help him win this year. In the women's field, it will be a 2-chair race between 2-time champion Connie Hansen and past champion Jean Driscoll. Both are familiar with the course and know their competition.
Probably it's going to be difficult because it's a large number of girls, which is on a very even level, and it might be a very tactical race.
3-time quad champion Clayton Guerin of Canada expects to take an early lead and set the pace for the other racers.
I don't know, I think me and the other guy that I train with are probably going to break away from probably pretty close to the start, and then I'll probably try to tire him out along the way and drop him as soon as I can. Because I get like to go on my own as much as possible.
Now, yesterday during the rains, they were out on Davis Island. The wheelchair racers had their own qualifying race called the Prologue, and I'll tell you, if the weather affects anybody, Tony, it has to affect the wheelchair racers probably more than the runners, I would say.
Oh, very much so. What it is they can't get a good grip on their push rings. And the rain to them isn't so much the tires on the asphalt. It's their hands flipping on the push rings. You can see the type of tape and the gloves that they've got, this enormous padding they've got because of the strength with which they hit those rims.
And this is a great shot from Eagle 8 of the start line, and these racers are about ready now to start out. And over 100 wheelchair racers out here, and that is spectacular. And I know that I talked to some from the Bay Area who are racing for the very first time. And again, I have said many, many times through the years, these are the spectacular athletes. These are the will, the determination, and I'll tell you, the pure racing. And it is every much as good a race as you're going to find anywhere in the country. And I think, of course, the flat conditions help out there.
You know, in NASCAR, Daytona 500 is their Super Bowl, and it's the first event of the year. Everyone talks about that angle. Well, Gasparilla, both for the chairs and the runners, is very much a similar sort of thing. It's it is the best field of the year every year, and it's really the kickoff to the entire season. We tend to forget about that as the season extends, but Gasparilla has as good a field in the chairs and the able-bodied runners as any event in the United States, and this year it's better than ever.
And Tony, just like with the runners, both the men's and women's divisions, they're going to start with the world-class athletes up front, the ones that qualified, in this case, fastest, so they'll be able to kind of get out of way a little bit and maybe break the pack.
It's a testament to how deep and strong the field is that they need a prologue the day before just to sort out who ought to get one starting position. Now, in the prologue, it's only 800 meters. It's a half a mile, so it will not be indicative of who's going to do well in a 15-kilometer road race, but it's just something to get them out of the to seed them, and it shows how strong this field is, really.
And, Tony, I want to point out one other thing. When they have a day where they put some of us who are supposedly able-bodied into the chairs to try to race these or move them around through obstacles, you learn one big thing. It is not only speed, it is also balance. And with the weight of these chairs going all the way from 55 pounds down to as little as 12 pounds, you really have a balanced situation. You've got to be keyed to that chair. It's just like being one.
And not only that, but you got to realize that there has to be a coordination. When you're running with your legs, you don't really think in terms of how much pressure on one leg or the other leg. It takes care of itself over time. But in the chairs, normally you have a stronger arm, either right-handed or you're left-handed. And for the most part, they have to work muscles so to make sure that they have an even stroke going, making them more efficient so that they track along a much straighter line, being more efficient racers.
And the way they're set up now, they have the steering, a lot of them on that front peak that comes out in front, so therefore they actually take their hand off of one of the wheels or both wheels to kind of go around a corner, and they have to be attuned to where they're doing that, and it's all race strategy.
Jim Knob's our defending champion, course record last year, 32-32. Connie Henson for the women, 37-41. And when we talked to Mary Carol Peterson yesterday, who's the chair coordinator, we expect that those times to be dropped by as much as 1 minute, if not more. That's how good the athletes are getting year by year and how good the chairs are getting as well.
We are watching now into the final seconds, the final countdown to the start. Let's listen to the countdown. There they go. This is the wheelchair start of the Gasparilla Distance Classic. They use the men's start, which means they're coming down across Broreen Bridge.
The hallmark of the wheelchair competition at Gasparilla, more so than the runners, is that because of the flat nature of this course, without hills, without a lot of turns, it's much more difficult with the drafting that goes on in with these chairs to get away. One person has a very hard time breaking away from that pack. And we always, like we saw just a couple of minutes ago, have these mad dash kicks to the tape, and I expect the same thing this year.
Here it is, a little bit chilly on Bayshore Boulevard, as you can hear the police sirens in the background, and you see them on your screen. They are leading the wheelchair runners now through the turns that will take them out onto Magnolia, where the men's course will merge with the main course on Bayshore Boulevard. That'll be the merge point for the men and women runners a little bit later on. But I think about those shoulders and arms, the upper body being a little bit cool this morning, and then all of a sudden, the first thing out, you go a matter of yards, and all of a sudden you're on an incline. You're going up over the bridge and then coasting down the other side. So they've really got to be attuned to their body and listening closely.
Then they look to just get into their stroke. Already I saw number 127, Mustafa Badid, former champion here a couple of years ago, right alongside with Jim Knob, our defending champion. They were two of the biggest names in all of the sport of wheelchair racing, and they've had a great competition. And it's the same thing again with the runners. Whoever does well here at Gasparilla sets themselves up as the man and the woman to beat for the rest of the calendar year, it seems.
Well, we have a young man who is from St. Petersburg, Florida, who has quite a story to tell, and he is racing for the very, very first time in the wheelchair division.
that under there to help me come up a little bit. Otherwise, I'd be down on my knees all the time.
In a racing wheelchair like this one, there can be no drag. Everything must be aerodynamic.
The big boys are running about 22, 23 miles an hour for the first mile.
When the wheelchair racers break away from the pack, they maintain 17 to 18 miles an hour.
At about 16 into a headwind.
You windmill me into the wind.
He hit nearly 21 miles an hour in a dead calm a couple of days ago. Mike Bond has always been an athlete. When he was run over by a drunk driver 3 years ago, he was on his way back from the beach, where he'd been windsurfing.
Hate these lights.
He had a broken back, ruptured spleen, broken arm, and was bleeding profusely. He wasn't expected to make it to the hospital, but he did. And even though at times it looked pretty bleak, he never quit.
I could always look around in the rehab hospital and see somebody that was worse off than I was, you know, and that was like, you know, it gave me a lot of go, a lot of drive to keep going. I've never really quit at anything that I've done, and I wasn't really ready to quit now.
Mike Bond says he made it back from what could have been depression because of his family and friends. And now, 3 years after the accident, they make no concessions to his disability.
All my friends, when we go to the beach, you know, they expect me to keep up, you know. They'll slow down and wait for me, but they make me push myself through the sand.
And they expect him to finish in the top 25 men for the Gasparilla race. Anything less from Mike Bond would be disappointment. It wouldn't make him quit, though. He'd be back next time in better shape, with a faster chair, and more determination than ever.
Just one of the many stories that we could tell you here about the wheelchair racers as they now are approaching the merge point, the Magnolia intersection on Bayshore Boulevard. Mike is a true inspiration, and we wish him luck today. Now, we're less than 10 minutes from the start of the 15K race, and for the first time in 5 years, we will have exactly the same course. The men start at the corner of Broarine and Franklin Streets. They run over the Broarine Street Bridge, turn left onto Little Bayshore, turn right onto Platt Street, run for 3 blocks, and then turn left again on Magnolia to the merge point on Bayshore Boulevard. The women start on Morgan Street just north of Cumberland. They run south on Morgan to Platt Street. Run west on Platt under the Convention Center, over the Platt Street Bridge, onto Bayshore where they'll merge with the men at Magnolia. From there, it's a 3.5-mile trek along Bayshore Boulevard, past Howard, Euclid, Bay to Bay, all the way out to Gandy, where there's a series of left-hand turns from Elberton along Pilgrim's Pathway, and then back on Bayshore for the long 4-mile run towards downtown, where the buildings never appear to get any closer until you reach the finish line. And that's past the Davis Island Bridge to Bayshore and Beach Place. 9.3 miles, 15 kilometers along the longest continuous sidewalk in America and Old Tampa Bay. Well, just a little bit less than 5 minutes, and as you can see, the breeze continues to blow here on Bayshore Boulevard, and we are now starting to talk about preparation of the runners as they get ready for their start for the 15K race. Let's go down to the women's start line and Yolanda Fernandez. Yolanda?
That's right. We're out here, and you can see that there are an awful lot of women out here just ready to get started with this race this morning. We were out here to talk to a few of the people that are ready to get started. Ma'am, tell me, I understand you've come a long way for this race. Where are you from?
I came out from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I ran this race about 11 years ago, and I'm out to prove that I'm maybe 11 years older, but I'm a lot better and I'm a lot faster.
Oh, I'm sure you are. How's the weather doing you this morning?
So far, so good. Feels good, no humidity, a little nippy, but once we start running, the cold won't bother me at all.
I guess not. You know, I've noticed that there is some stretching going on this morning, but there's been an awful lot of bouncing. We've seen a lot of people bouncing around trying to stay warm, and as we mentioned, there are people from all ages and all different levels of running ability in this race. And I found this young lady who's just 10 years old, and she's running in the 15K race this morning. What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Mason Cathy, and I'm from Jacksonville.
How have you trained for this race?
Well, I started a year ago, and I've just built up to 10 miles every 2 weeks.
So your parents brought you all the way down from Jacksonville to be in this race?
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. See, we've got people all different levels. She came down from Jacksonville. We do have some elite runners that are here from Brazil. We have women running from Russia and from all over. Right now, let's go ahead back to Dick to continue with the race.
Thank you very much, Yolanda, and certainly there are every shape and form of runner out here today, and some of them just for the fun of it, some of them for the money, some of them to get very serious and see what their future holds. Among the women, of course, we're going to watch Wilma Van Ona, who is the defending champion, and Judy St. Hilaire from the United States. Here are some of the favorites among the men. Let's take a look at them. Last year's champion, Valdemar dos Santos from Brazil, 23 years old, made the move last year around the 5-mile mark. And that was extremely important because the pack had kind of broken away, but it was a big pack, and he finally took it out and strung it a little bit. Challenging Dos Santos is two-time champion John Halvorsen from Norway. And John, as you can see, won 1990 and 91. For the first time ever, Arturo Barrios, the former world record holder in 10,000 meters from Mexico, is running in the Gasparilla. And that is quite a field right there, and it goes back from there, and it gets deeper and deeper. And that's the important part of this thing, I would think, Tony. All of these world-class runners know there's somebody behind them looking over their shoulder.
Oh, tremendous depth. That's what I'm talking about as far as the quality of field. It's just not the top 2 or 3 or 4 who you see in most races. It goes back 15, 20 deep. In fact, when people talk about who's going to win this race, they talk about it's a race between countries, not individuals. You've got a tremendously strong Brazilian connection led by Valdemar dos Santos, the defending champion. But we got 2 other dos Santos. We look at number 11, Alejandro Cruz from Mexico, who's really got to be one of the favorites. He was the guy that actually made the initial move to breakaway last year. Then dos Santos made a move on him after those 2 broke away. But the Mexicans have an enormous contingent. And the Kenyans, of course, led by Benson Masha, who was the road racer of the year last year. And so it's going to be Brazilians, Mexicans, and Kenyans, then the United States, the South Africans, and all those people from Tampa.
I think you're saying wide open field.
It's an enormous gathering of athletes.
There's John Halvorsen now, as a matter of fact, and you can see the concentration, and there you see some of the other runners
that might work.
Preparing. That might work, anything at this point.
This race is 2 weeks later on the schedule this year than it was last year. Based on that, and it being the season kickoff for many of these athletes, they're actually more fit for this competition than they would have been in previous years. So I think we can see faster running or harder running. The wind's going to make all the difference in the world. Either it'll affect them or it won't. But we still have a chance to see some very strong racing, probably later into the competition based on that 2 extra weeks of preparation.
You saw an aerial shot from Eagle 8 looking down on the men's start at Broareen. And the women's start also, they are lining up over there. The men are at Broareen and Franklin in downtown Tampa. The women are at Morgan and Cumberland. Look at the mass of humanity out there now. This, again, is the men's start. We're about 30 seconds away. We're going to pick up the final instructions to the runners as they very nervously stand at the start line.
I'm ready.
Okay, women's start. Are you set?
Wayne Pappy instructing the racers, checking that everything's in readiness, going down a checklist.
1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic. We're off and running. 1993 Distance Classic is off and running.
As they head down the streets of Tampa and out onto Bayshore Boulevard, let's listen to the start of the Gasparilla and the sounds that make it happen. Men runners going out across the Broareen Street Bridge. The women will go across the Platt Street Bridge, and you can notice that coning effect, Tony.
Boy, they just instantly go right to that point, and you can see that lead pack instantly sort of breaking away. You can see that clump of about 20 men, then you see a couple of stragglers, and then the rest of the people. That's how fast they go out. The course record first mile is around 4 minutes and 34 seconds. Last year, they went out in 4 minutes, 36 seconds. So we'll take a look and see how fast they go through that first mile. And again, the wind will be with them the first part of this course. And so there's Valdemar dos Santos already on the left of the stream with the hat. Alejandro Cruz right next to him. I mean, you could just name every great road racer in the world, and they're here in Tampa this morning.
Great field, great
Benson Masha, number 3 in the pink shorts. He's the great Kenyan who just won the Honolulu Marathon in December for the second time.
And was the Kenyan field is right up in the front here all the way through.
Oh, there's Benson Masha, William Koech, who was the winner at the Cleveland Revco 10K last year. William Koech is the man who is expected to take this field out very hard. He's known as somebody who just goes out very fast, very hard. It's a Kenyan tradition in many ways. And a lot of the other athletes, including the Brazilians, don't really like that. They'd rather have a slower pace early on than run really hard the last 5 kilometers. But the Kenyans have a tendency to go out and really make things happen from the gun and put the pressure on immediately.
Just minutes into the race, the masses are still starting for both the men and the women. It takes a while to get everybody out. This is the start line right here, and you can see there are some that are just now starting to pick up the pace a little bit to what you would call a moderate jog.
Many more T-shirts and long sleeves and sweatshirts on these athletes this year than there were in previous years when they were just wearing their racing singlets. So the cold temperatures got them a little bit concerned.
The sun is up, as you can see, on the course, but the breeze is still up also, so the temperatures are going to remain about the same.
I've been told by folks locally that as the sun rises, the surface winds diminish usually in Tampa.
That has been known to happen, but so far not yet. I think it will happen as we go a little bit further
about
into
one
the
or
morning.
two in the afternoon at the award ceremony.
Actually, it might happen to the point that here are the women coming
right by
us
our
right
location.
now.
Judy St. Hilaire is in the lead. We're just telling you this. And Lisa Ondieki, the favorite in the race. Olga Appel, Carmen de Oliveira. Those are some of the names to watch throughout this competition. Wilma Van Ona nowhere near that lead. She's about 20, 30 yards back right now. A
The
little
men,
surprising.
as you see on your screen, are now rounding at Magnolia. That means they are approaching to the merge point. We'll see the women here coming up momentarily. There you can see just past our broadcast position. Judy St. Hilaire out in the lead, so she is... has to be that possibly the wind will switch or at least pull down a little bit as they make the turn down there. This is a great shot looking out at the men runners on the left and the women runners on the right, and you will see shortly where the merge point is. They are separate at this point as they hit Magnolia, which you're looking at right now. We see the first cars going through. There's the car leading the men's pack as they make the right-hand turn onto Bayshore Boulevard. You can see the press truck there and our Channel 8 truck that'll show you the leaders. We should see the runners coming on. There are the men runners. They are now on Bayshore Boulevard. You'll see the women runners joining them momentarily.
And that's 1989 Gasparilla champion Keith Brantley, formerly from Gainesville, now from Daytona, who is right up there in front. Keith did not run well at the Gainesville 5K a number of weeks ago, prepping for the Boston Marathon in April. But he knows this course, he's won on this course, and he's got a big emotional. If there's anyone that's the home area favorite, it's Keith.
We are going to be back with more of our live action from the Gasparilla Distance Classic on Bayshore Boulevard this beautiful, beautiful Saturday morning. Stay with us. We'll be back with more fast action in just a moment. Far they are into the 1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic. We are looking at the men runners. There you can see the women, and obviously they have already merged on Bayshore Boulevard at Magnolia, and some of the women are now intermixing with some of the men runners. This is obviously a very, very good pace that they are setting right now. The wind to their back, and the wind has picked up a little bit in spurts, so that will help them going out, but it certainly will hinder them coming in. Now let's, for the first time today, go out to our truck, which is out in front of the men's pack. Alberto Salazar and our own Tom Corrin. Tom?
Thank you, Dick. The first mile split was 4:24. That's awful quick, but as you say, we're going downwind at this stage of the game. Alberto, how do you see this race?
It's very fast, as we expected. The wind is behind their back, but you've got about 15 real star elite athletes up there right now, and they're really pushing hard, and I think there's a real good chance at a world record here today.
And one of those athletes in the front right there is Brantley, 18. He's a former winner here at Gasparilla.
Yeah, Keith has been very consistent in the last few years. He's done very well on the track as well, and I think that he feels that this is one of those races where he's really got to break through.
But there's other tough competitors up there up front. Let's see how things are developing now.
Well, up there right now, number 8 is Yobi Zondike. He's a world champion at 5,000 meters 2 years ago. In the Olympics just last year, he was 5th in the 5,000 meters. You've got Arturo Barrios, number 2, the world record holder at 10,000 meters. William Koech, one of the top road runners in the world, number 44. You've got Alejandro Cruz, one of the top Mexican road racers in the world, number 11 up there. You've really got 15 guys up there. Every one of them has a chance of winning.
And when do you expect them somebody to break away? What stage?
I think that in a race like this, which is 9.3 miles long, I think that you're still going to have 5 to 7 guys together through the halfway point at the very latest. And even with 2 or 3 miles to go, I think there'll still be at least 3 or 4 runners there.
All right, we'll see your prognostication holds up. Let's go back to Tony and Dick.
Really looking to come back with a strong performance, so this might be the year that he'll try to outdistance. And when he did win, he really did win. I mean, he took a tremendous lead.
42.5, one of the fastest times in Gasparilla history. It dominated the competition. Well, you know, Keith is a very emotional athlete. And when he's down, he's very down. When he's up, he's skyrocketing. And I think he's coming in. He's getting ready for the Boston Marathon. He's on a long-term program. I don't think he's as fit as he was in 1989, but he doesn't like to race locally unless he's fit. He doesn't like to race in Florida and not make a good showing. So I expect good things from Keith out there today.
We look in the right-hand portion of your screen, in the right-hand corner down there. The leader again is Judy St. Hilaire. I find it a little bit interesting that there has been really no lead change off the start of the pack for the women runners. It's a very tight pack at this point, with 4 of the women up there, and they are very, very strong. They're just really kind of holding together and pacing off of each other. And again, it's going to be interesting when they make that turn for both the men and the women, because drafting is a real possibility. And with the wind coming into their face, if they can get behind a runner to kind of block some of that out, they have an advantage. And she is tall.
That's Carolina Szabo on the left of the screen, the shorter woman. She was 3rd in the competition last year. She's from Hungary, so we have experienced runners on this course. Carmen de Oliveira, she's right behind. She's number 74. She's from Brazil, and she's been racing very well. She won the Super Bowl 10K out in Redondo Beach, California 3 weeks ago. But I would say the favorite in the race is number 63. That's Lisa Ondieki, who's the wife of Yobes Ondieki. Lisa, of course, set the course record in winning the New York City Marathon last year. It just crushed the competition. She is preparing for the London Marathon, where she'll go up against the great British runner, Liz McColgan. And Lisa Ondieki has been, since she got married to Yobes, has really stepped up in her training, and her race results are really proving that that's been a very successful union for her, both professionally and personally.
Looking at the lead pack for the women racers, let's switch now to the turnaround point on Bayshore Boulevard, which is out by Pilgrim Way. Well, we got the word that the wheelchair wheelers are out on that, and apparently have come through that turnaround, and they just went out of our camera range as we threw it out to them. But let's go back to our lead packs for both the men and the women, and you can see them. How important is the water stop going to be? You know, last year there was some problems with the water stop. The temperature was up quite a bit higher than it is this morning. So what about in the cooler temperature?
I don't think it's going to make any difference. If you don't get water today, I don't think it'll be quite as important. With the cool temperature, you're not sweating as much. It's not as far a race, 15 kilometers. If it's a real hot day, you'll see them pour it over their heads as much as drink it. You're not going to get dehydrated totally in a 15-kilometer race.
All right, this is the way it looks as we continue with the 1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic. We're going to be back with more live action. Tony Revis, Dick Crippen, Tom Korn, Chris Thomas, Yolanda Fernandez, Alberto Salazar. Folks, pretty world-class lineup right there, Tony. We'll be back with more from Bayshore Boulevard in a moment. Bayshore, which is the 5K turnaround point for those of you that are going to be out here later this morning running in the 5K. You see the men to the upper left of your screen, the women's race to the lower right of your screen. We're dealing primarily at this point with the elite runners trying to get a pace on it. Tom Korn and Alberto Salazar are out in the truck out in front of the men, so let's see if we can go to them now and get some time. Tom?
Thank you, Dick. I'll tell you, this group is really flying. Right now, they passed a 3-mile split. 16 seconds better than world record time. Alberto, we expected a fast race, but do you expect it to be this fast?
No, I really didn't. This could be the first sub-42-minute 15K ever. If they do that, they're going to break the world record by a good 28 seconds.
And right now, on the right side of the lead, there is Kenyan that we have to keep an eye on here.
Right, William Koech is continuing to lead the race here. Next to him, number 48, is Jose Castillo from Mexico. I don't know too much about it. I really don't think he's going to be up there too much longer. But you've still got about 5 or 6 world-class athletes up there, and the pace is this fast, the chances are that somebody there is going to be able to continue to force the pace. So I really believe that the world record is going to be broken today.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Dick and Tony, back to you.
Alberto, well, you know, when he was an athlete, you know, when he first went to the New York City Marathon, first thing he said is, my first marathon, I'm here to run 2:09 and to win, and he did. So Alberto Salazar going out on a limb is nothing new. And he's been right before, so I'm not saying he's going to be wrong.
Well, again, the speeds are up on it, as he commented, and we're getting a very, very smooth race. If you look at the style of the runners, you can see we just saw right there, as a matter of fact, Jose Castillo just kind of wiping off his brow a little bit. It looked very, very relaxed. They seem very, very comfortable. There you can see Castillo is number 48.
He's a new name, Dick, onto the running scene. I don't think he's ever been to an American road race before. He was, well, no, he was. He was fourth at the Cascade Runoff last year, and he was second to Arturo Barrios last year in a huge race on New Year's Eve down in Brazil. So the 15K is a very good distance for him. He's a Peruvian Olympian. We just haven't seen his name, but he was touted as being a guy to look for as a top runner in today's competition. But it's William Koech from Kenya, who we thought might be the guy that takes it out hard, and he's really doing he's running very fast, and this, as I said, what Valdemar dos Santos did not want. Dos Santos has a tremendous amount of confidence in his last 3 miles of this race, but if it gets it all taken out of him in the first 6 miles, then that last 3 is not going to mean very much. So Koech may be setting this up for one of the other Kenyans or one of the Mexicans by that very strong early pace that he's running.
This is the 4K water mark, and you can see a lot of the runners are taking a little bit of the water, but the lead runners did not take water. Koech went right by without stopping at all. Now you can see Castillo is right up there with him, and just a couple of steps ahead of him as Koech drops back just a hair. Also challenging up there is Valdemar dos Santos. So this is a very, very tight pack.
Look, well, it's actually being elongated a little bit. They used to be much more tightly bunched, but now they're running 2 by 2 and then in single file. And look at the faces. William Koech on the right, number 44, is sort of his head is back. You can see the strain on his face. Delmar dos Santos behind him. You can see the strain on his face. Castillo looks really the best of them all, number 48. He seems to be the cleanest in his face. You can't hide your strain on the face. And that's where you really look. You don't look at the arms so much of the legs. You look at the face and see who's working very hard. And Arturo Barrios, certainly one of the favorites in the race, the world record holder at 10,000 meters on the track, is back a little bit, and he's showing some strain.
Just to keep you informed, we are getting close to the finish for the wheelchair racers. They are 29 minutes and 20 seconds into the race. We are figuring it'll be somewhere around 32 minutes, maybe 32, that they'll be finishing. So we're keeping an eye out here on our finish line spot from Bayshore Boulevard. Meanwhile, Judy St. Hilaire continues to set the pace for the women. She looks very relaxed, I would think, judging from the tapes I was reviewing the other night. She looks very comfortable in her run, and of course the fact that she's been training in snow might well play to her advantage, and I don't mean that as a slight remark. That is a very, very important thing when you train in the cold weather and then you come down on a brisk morning. This is a very, very pleasant run for her.
The only thing that might be playing against her, Dick, is the fact that she probably hasn't been doing a lot of speed work out on the roads. With the snowy conditions on the road, she's probably just doing strength work, and so her speed might be a little bit suspect, whereas living out in Arizona, I think the Ondiekis, both male and female, have a more, maybe be more finely tuned for this. It's the hardest thing to find. That's why we're here in Tampa for Gasparilla, because it is the kickoff race of the season, so it really is, where am I? There is as much in the dark as to where their conditioning is right now as the rest of us. Benson Masha, one of the Kenyan favorites, said, I got a tremendous amount of strength, but I haven't been doing any speed. I'm here to find out where I stand and what do I have to do to figure out where I have to go to improve as the season develops.
Here come the wheelchair racers as they come down Bayshore Boulevard. Now, these are the final moments for the wheelchair racers. They are 30 minutes and 48 seconds into the race. We are estimating their finish time to be in about 2 minutes. But look at the pack. It is very, very tight, and here comes another one up from behind. Now, this is good drafting. Remember, they are coming into the wind at this point, and that's why they have these special helmets and such as they pass the 9-mile mark, and they really go for aerodynamics.
Now it's a matter, Dick, of trying to is getting yourself positioned. That's what it's all about right here, because it's whose slingshots at the right time that's going to win this competition. Any one of this Congo line can win. It's just a matter of putting yourself in the right position to make your final move at the most propitious time. So you do not want to be the leader, I would think, right now.
As in stock car racing, they want to stay very tight on each other to keep the draft line going. Now, last year, you'll remember when we talked about it in the pre-show, and that is that they had a little confusion at the finish line as to which side of the barriers they should go on by the Davis Island Bridge, but we understand that has been very clearly explained to them. Now, it was interesting. It was a tight pack that was actually as many as 3 across at one point. Now it has strung out, and look at the size of the pack as they come down.
Nobody wants to be the guinea pig. See how the leader basically pulled up?
Right.
And I just by colors, that may be Bill Duff in the red and yellow. I think Bill wears a lot of red and yellow, I think. He's one of the favorites. It could have been Jim Knaber, defending champion in the white, who was leading. But the point is, you can see them all bunch up. They're all looking for the best line to the finish line, so when they start their kick, they don't have to worry about position once it begins for them. Or they don't want to get blocked out. I mean, this is Gasparilla wheelchair racing, and it's absolutely fine. It doesn't look like they've dropped anyone since they started the race.
Once again, they pull out across the track now, and as they're coming down, they'll be approaching the Davis Island Bridge. Again, though, that was the point of confusion last year. We will see if they can get through it cleanly, but now you can see they are really spreading out across the track. Now, that makes for a very good draft behind the field because all of that wind that is hitting them head-on is being broken up. They're jockeying for position, trying to find some clear air. They come around the turn.
Everyone sees it goes to the front and then drops a little bit back, but they don't want to drop too far back. They don't want to get caught in the 3rd or 4th row where their sprint just can't be used because there's no place to go. You need a place to do your sprinting, but you don't want to be the guy who starts the sprint. So it's really a difficult position for each one of these guys. It's as much a chess game as a match of speed and strength right now.
We got the word in from the course that the men runners have just passed the turnaround, so they are coming back out onto Bayshore Boulevard, far out by Gandy Boulevard. We'll pick them up momentarily, but as we now are 33:30 into the race for the wheelchairs, we're watching closely as they take their finish.
No course record, and Dick, what that tells me is that the victory here is more important than the time, and the wind has really played a significant role coming into their face in that last 4 miles of this race, especially with the chairs. They catch more wind. They're like a sail in the position of the chairs and the bodies in the chairs, and the wind really does slow them down even more. Plus, you don't want to be the guy, again, who's doing all that brunt of that work up front, towing, in essence, the rest of the field around on your back.
It is amazing to see how wide they have spread across the field now.
Now, it used to be they're all spread out. Now they're all bunched together, and there's only about 4 or 5 rows.
As a matter of fact, some of them are almost on the curve line, so they're going to have to be very careful coming around. But we are just about to see them come into view. They're passing underneath the Davis Island Bridge. Now watch the arms as they start punching the upper bodies. They really start getting a piston motion going.
They lift. And this is where Jim Knabe has always shown his mettle in the past, is really being able to sprint from a far away out.
It is one thing to have the power to turn the wheels, but you also must have the synchronization to turn the wheels. Everything has to be even. 34:43 is the time on the clock now as we get our final sprint in the wheelchair racers.
That looks like Knabe up front, to be honest with you.
Look at the charge right behind him, though, coming up on the outside, and it's going to be a very tight finish again.
The Oklahoma Land Rush.
There's 35 as we mark the time on the clock, and they are really chugging those wheels, turning as hard as they can, coming down for the finish. If that is Knabe on the right, he has taken a bit of a lead, and he will have a clean finish. 35:15 looks like the time.
No, that's not Knabe. Nope. 127. Number 127 is Mustafa Badid.
Mustafa Badid takes the win
2 years ago. And it looked like maybe Scott Hollenbeck up there. And Badid is pumping his fist in the air. He is psyched.
Well, he really had to push it, but as he came down to the final yards left, he really took a little bit of a lead, and it was obvious they weren't going to be able to catch up to him. Meanwhile, the men have gone through the turnaround point. They are coming back into the city on Bayshore Boulevard. And let's go out to the truck to Alberto Salazar and Tom Corn. Tom?
Well, thank you, Dick. Right now we have a group of 8 now here in the lead pack, Alberto. The times are still flying.
Yeah, they're going really quick. They're still on a world record pace, but they have turned around. The wind is in their face now. But if you look in there, you can see that there's a few runners. Arturo Barrios, number 2. He's drafting behind Dos Santos and behind William Kowich, number 44. And Yobi Sandaiki is back there, too, number 8. And he's also hanging behind. Now, if these guys can stay behind the other runners and let them break the wind for just at least another few miles, they'll have the strength to be able to go into the lead and really pick it up those last few miles and still go after the world record. So I think that they still do have a very good shot at breaking that world record if they continue to work together. As long as there's a group up there and you don't have to lead the whole way into the wind and you just can shield yourself from the wind, then you have a good chance of being able to go out to the lead later in the race.
I know Tony was talking about the strains on some of these faces, but you looked at Yobi and you said, well, he's looked awful strong. He looks very, very relaxed.
He does. He looks very relaxed. Dos Santos looks like he's under a little bit of stress. William Koech has been in the front too long, and I think that at some point they're all going to go by him pretty easily. Barrios looks like he's pressing, but he always looks like that. He's very strong.
All right. As they head back to the finish line now, we're going to send it back to Tony and Dick.
Thank you very much, Tom. And the women have made the turnaround. They are now on Bayshore Boulevard also, and as you're pointing out to me right now, number 33, Delmira Dos Santos, has taken the lead away, just as Alberto predicted.
Well, Delmira
Koech was going to move back a little bit.
We got Dos Santos, Dos Santos. Dos Santos means two saints. So we got the two saints up front. Delmira and Valdenar, now not related. They have another. Luis is another Dos Santos. We got three Dos Santos in this race, but Delmira made a very strong move, and now it's Jose Castillo answering that challenge. So we are into the heart of the race where people are really starting to make very strong moves. Last year it was Cruz from Mexico who spurted just around this point, 27, 28 minutes into the competition, and they're starting to make some very strong, not just testing moves.
We have unofficially the winner of the wheelchair race, Mustafa Badid, and the second place, Peter Carruthers of Great Britain. Those are unofficial results, but I don't think there was any doubt about the winner, and Chris Thomas is with him now. Chris?
Okay, Dick, Adolfo Badia, former winner of this race here, in a tremendous finish today. Have you ever been to one closer?
Yes, last week was last year's start, but it was for the second place.
When you hit the finish line, could you tell whether you had won? It looked like you came in tandem.
I don't know. What I know is Tom Sellers, the guy just behind me, Tom Powers, I think. He was in the front, maybe the last 20 meters. What I know is, like my coach said, even you not past the finish line, you have to work harder you can. That's what I did.
Tremendous finish, Adolfo. How much of a factor was the wind out there today?
It was working a lot, I mean, to reduce the speed of the race during the last 5K, because the front pack slowed down because it's like, you know, they don't want to, I mean, they don't want to use, the guys on the front don't want to use too much energy because they're afraid for the sprint and everything. So, why the second pack catch there, that's at the point. And also because some guys in the second packs work hard. I think I did, you know.
Congratulations.
Maybe more pride to work hard with the second bike to catch.
Congratulations on another championship and catch your breath. Boy, what a great finish. Back to you, Dick and Tony.
Thank you very much, Chris, and that was a great finish, no question about it. Now, we're going to be back with more of our action as you look at the lead men runners returning on Bayshore Boulevard, and the pack is still deep out there. They strung out for a little while. They're now running in a pack. How will they finish up? We're getting a little bit closer to that right after we take this time out. You're watching the 1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic live on Channel 8. Predicting how that the two are going to break away from the field, but I think if you look at the faces on that, again, we talked about that earlier, but you can see who's straining and who is not.
But there's two kinds of straining. There's straining where you're really trying to just hold on, and then there's straining where you're pushing hard and trying to exert pressure. And that's what Barrios is doing right now. I think Valdenar Dos Santos, number one, still looks very fresh in second place. His face is not as contorted as Barrios, but I think Arturo's pushing that pace.
It's still a very easy pace for Judy St. Hilaire. She doesn't look like she's straining at all. Whether or not she has the kick, maybe that is going to be the question as we go full screen to the leader of the women's pack.
Lisa Ondieki is now just right along with her, one step ahead. So that's a subtle difference, one step or two steps, but it means a lot because Judy would not have given up the lead, or Lisa actually probably wanted the lead. She took the lead of her own accord. And again, she's the marathoner, and Judy's more the road racer. Judy St. Hilaire's only run one marathon. Lisa Ondieki is ostensibly the finest women's marathoner in the world today.
Interesting that they're in now among the men, and I would imagine with the wind in their face like that, that could also play a little bit to their advantage. As big as Judy is, she can get shielded out a little bit, but Lisa is obviously drafting right there and going to take advantage of some clean air.
Don't forget Carmen de Oliveira right on Judy's shoulder, the ponytail flapping in the breeze from Brazil, and she's a very strong runner we can't forget about. So we got a pack of men, we have a pack of women, and we expected a very good Gasparilla. But even now Barrios is starting to string them out. No more of this 2x2, 8 men in a pack. Barrios has put the wood to the lads, the world record holder at 10,000 meters, making the transition this year more back to the roads, heading toward maybe a fall marathon at New York City. And now it's Barrios from Mexico, the Brazilian Dos Santos, the other Brazilian Dos Santos, and then it looks like Castillo from Peru.
35 minutes and 15 seconds into the 1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic, and we're going to go down to the finish line again for the winner of the women's wheelchair race with Chris Thomas. Chris?
All right, Dick, I'm with Louise Savage. She is from Australia, and this is her very first race in the United States, and one that I'm sure you'll never forget. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
What brought you to America? Had this been on your schedule long? When did you make your plans to come here?
I didn't actually know I was coming till about 2 weeks ago, and I got a new chair, Fortress, and then I decided to do a bit of racing, so this is my first race.
Well, tell me a little bit about your chair. Is it a new lightweight version? How much practice have you had in it, Louise?
This is only about the fourth time I've actually pushed in it, so I haven't had it very long. I got it on Wednesday. So, yeah, it's great. It rolls really well. It's coast, it's light. It's wonderful.
When did you know you had the race won? Did you have a good feeling the whole race?
I felt pretty strong. Coming into the headwind, I thought, I might slow down a bit, but no, I was really strong, and then they sprinted to the end, so I took off too.
Welcome to America. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Louise Savage, the winner of the women's wheelchair competition. Back to you, Dick.
Thank you, Chris. Louise Savage sitting there in her singlet as we keep saying, what did we do with the gloves? We left them back in the room. It is chilly on the finish line.
Idiot.
And but the runners, they're not feeling
We're not
it.
the sun. I mean, we've been in an open. We didn't have the top in all those other years, so now we're covered, and of course we're freezing.
36 minutes and 42 seconds into this 1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic. The men continue to come back on Bayshore. The women racers right in there among them. We'll be back with more of our live action here on Channel 8. We look at the runners now, the men runners approaching the 14K mark at Willow on their return to Bayshore Boulevard. They are coming back, of course, right down to the Marina area where the Jose Gaspar is now parked across from Tampa General Hospital. That is our finish line, and that is the point they are aiming at. Out in the lead right now, Arturo Barrios, just as predicted. Alberto was right on with that, and you had said all along that he was going to be one of the ones to watch out there, Tony. He is a very, very strong runner, and at this point looks extremely strong.
Now, Valdemar Dos Santos, the defending champion, behind him beat Arturo Barrios in January at a 7-kilometer road race in Uruguay. So he's got a lot of confidence, Valdemar does, racing Barrios since they just met within the last month. And I think Valdemar looks very strong and has a tremendous amount of confidence as he now takes the lead very strongly. Very strongly. I mean, just a dominating pull-away move. And now Delmer Dos Santos may be trying to move away. This is a powerful breakaway move by Valdemar Dos Santos, and nobody even comes close to matching it. It was like he shot from guns and Quaker puffed Dos Santos.
He has got a tremendous stride, and he's using all of it right now as he obviously is smelling the finish line. They are not that far away from the Davis Island Bridge, and that's a great landmark for these runners.
I mean, that is it. I mean, no one's going to match it. Delmer Dos Santos was in that race in Uruguay as well, and he finished behind Barrios, so now he's going by Arturo and trying to come back on Valdemar. Valdemar told us at our interview yesterday, I think I have a very strong last 3 miles in me, and in fact, the last mile and a half I'm very, very confident of, and it's almost like he had his spot picked. Barrios took the lead at 33 minutes into the competition. Once we hit the 40-minute mark where they have just a couple of minutes left to run, boom, Valdemar Dos Santos just exploded and has pulled away and dominated this competition from this point forward.
Now, you got to allow that the television camera tends to squeeze things together a little bit, too, and actually it even looked exaggerated there. And as he comes under the bridge, we just temporarily lost the signal there, but he looked very, very strong. Now we pick him up. There's the truck coming under the Davis Island Bridge. Now, all of the runners know that it's just a matter of yards from that bridge. It's a little bit over a football field away. They can do it. They've done almost the entire race at a good pace. Now he has broken clean of the field. He's being already signaled into the lane for the finish. Valdemar Dos Santos, very, very strong. Coming down, 41:45 is the time on the clock now as he is already into his finish lane. The decision has been made where he will go. There you can see the timing truck right ahead of him.
He's getting his hat. That's how much energy the guy's got. He's probably got an ASICS logo on his hat, his shoe company, is making sure the pictures all come out right for his contract. Valdener dos Santos, you talk about having it in hand. He's making sure his fashion statement's correct at the finish line. 43:10 was his time last year, and it looks like he's going to be, we can see him in the distance now, and it looks like he's going to be very close to it. It looks like he might get under 43
I think he's going to get
minutes.
under 43. It's 42:22 right now, and he's just got a matter of yards to go.
Delmer dos Santos now makes his big, strong move. Barrios matches it. We have José Castillo for Peru in 4th place, but it's a great race. It is trying to be a Two Saints dos Santos 1st and 2nd for Brazil.
There's your win, and it is Valdener dos Santos. It looked like 42:40 was his time to beat his mark of last year. The second of the dos Santos coming in 2nd place. Very clean run, and it was Arturo Barrios finishing in 3rd. A good showing, no question about it. They now will get their breath. We look back out onto the course, the women, and there you can see Judy St. Hilaire has again taken the lead among the women. The winner of the men being congratulated.
Pumped. He is pumped.
And he looks like he could run another couple of miles. He really does. He's
He had
so relaxed.
Tremendous confidence in himself coming into this. His last 6 races, he's won all 6, 2 on the 2 roads and 4 cross country, all course records. So this is 7 straight victories for him. And boy, victory begets victory. And so much of racing is how confident you are and what your mental power is. And Valdener dos Santos played it exactly as he scripted it before the race began.
So 1st place goes to Valdener dos Santos. Delmer dos Santos was 2nd, and then Arturo Barrios was in 3rd place. And there's Judy St. Hilaire trying again to take the lead back from Lisa. Lisa, though, very, very strong.
Lisa on the right, Carmen
she is
D'Oliveira.
extremely confident.
Well, Lisa's had her eyes cast down the whole time. And in doing that just means that she really hasn't begun concentrating all that much. She's still within herself. Judy's face seems to be showing a little bit more strain. Carmen D'Oliveira is more of the wild card in this from Brazil, number 74. She does not have the credentials that Judy St. Hilaire and Lisa Andieki have, but the great thing about the sport is you get out what you put in, and Carmen D'Oliveira won her last competition out in Redondo Beach, California, and she's obviously right on. She's running stride for stride for these women, and you cannot count her out as a possible victor today.
44:38 is the time on the clock. The women... There you can see Carmen moving up, Carmen D'Oliveira moving up a little bit on Judy St. Hilaire, but that is very normal with this threesome. They'll change it out just a little bit. Carmen is listing Albuquerque, New Mexico now as her residence, so she's training out in dry air. This will play a little bit to her advantage, having the coolness in the air.
She was a 3-time winner on the circuit last year. She's a South American record holder, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. So she has her set of credentials. And now what you're looking for is if it's going to come down to who's going to let it come down, who wants it to come down to a kick, and who wants to have to try to get away before. You can tell that Valdener dos Santos wanted to get away, so it wasn't just a 100-yard sprint to the tape. Judy St. Hilaire is not known for a great turnover late in the competition, not a long stride. On the other hand, Lisa Andieki began her running career as a 400-meter intermediate hurdler.
Strictly as an observation, I've been watching Judy St. Hilaire's face, and she keeps casting an eye off to her right as though to watch and see exactly the positioning. Of course, Carmen is running to her right, and Lisa is staying in the pocket now, moving up on the inside. We'll see if she can take advantage. As they come through those turns, there is a little bit of advantage if you can run lesser of a distance.
Well, you can see also that there's no men in front of them, so that any drafting they were having earlier in the competition is no longer viable. And they're taking the brunt of that wind right now. And so they have to decide. It'd be much easier on either one of them if it was just 2 women racing, but 3 just adds geometrically to the possibilities here. And nobody has really taken the race by the nape of the neck and given it a good shaking. No one's tested anybody yet, so I don't know if that says I don't know what that says about confidence or lack of confidence on either one of these, on any one of these 3 women.
It looks like Lisa has gone out just by about maybe a step or 2, but again, Judy St. Hilaire staying right in there. But you pointed out earlier that she has not had the opportunity to do a lot of speed work.
Yeah,
I think at this point, this is what it's going to come down to.
I'd say Judy has the least chance in a sprint. Lisa has the genetic gift. She started off as just a 400-meter runner and a hurdler. And then Carmen de Oliveira, you can just tell by the way she runs in her stride that she got very easy, nice knee lift. And running, being the 3,000-meter South American champion, she maybe does a little bit more track racing than the other three as well.
Now they're coming up on that Davis Island Bridge. You can see the exit lane there going up onto the bridge. As they come underneath the bridge, they are packed tight enough. Now you wonder a little bit how Judy St. Hilaire will play it, because if she wants to break through there, she will not have a clean run. She's unless they separate in front of her. We'll see if she uses any strategy at all coming underneath the bridge to try to move up. The three of them running very tight out there, pacing each other, but this is about the point where you're looking at the camera angle where they're going to have to start braking.
Remember when Alberto said earlier in the competition about the men that William Koech has just done so much leading that it's going to play to his disadvantage. Well, Judy St. Hilaire has done more of the leading on the women's side, and that may well be a disadvantage for her as well. Now, as I'm looking down at the finishing chutes, as all the rest of the men are sort of going down and doing their cool down, the one man who's walking back toward the finish line to see what's going on is Yobes Andieki, the husband of Lisa, and he's still got an interest out on that course.
And here come the three women together again.
Lisa Andieki. Athletes. He's got 24 athletes in this race. He's got a big post-race party out at his house where everyone goes afterwards. So there's going to be a lot of celebration at the Pozo residence this afternoon. And there's the two winners right there, the two Brazilian winners. No problem, huh?
First place for the men, Valdemar dos Santos. First place for the women, Carmen de Oliveira. Chris Thomas is standing by at the finish line, and he's got both the winners ready to go. Chris?
Yeah, okay, Dick, I'm here at the finish line with the two winners. Luis Felipe Passo is the interpreter for both Carmen, the women's winner, and our repeat champion, Valdemar dos Santos. Luis, you told me dos Santos in Brazilian is two saints. You got two saints here today.
Yeah, I think so.
Ask Valdemar how he feels to successfully defend his championship and in faster time than a year ago.
¿Cómo se siente que defendió su título y en tiempo más rápido que el año pasado?
Eu me sinto muito bem porque fiz a melhor preparação possível, mas foi a carreira mais difícil que eu fiz até hoje na minha vida, ganhando os melhores corredores do mundo, então para mim é a minha maior vitória de todos os tempos até hoje.
He said that he feels very happy, that he trained very hard for this race. He was the most difficult road race of his career, and he feels good that he beat some of the best road runners of the world.
Was he surprised at the very quick early pace of the race? It was very fast.
Estaba sorprendido de que el paso estaba mucho rápido al principio.
Não, eu sabia que a prova ia ser muito rápida, mas teria que ir junto para tentar defender o título, porque tinha que ser assim para tentar defender, que é muito difícil.
He said that he was expecting a quick pace, but he also was planning to follow anybody that went to defend his title.
Tell him congratulations.
Okay.
All right, Carmen de Oliveira is the women's winner, and she has a Banco do Brasil shirt on here. I guess that's the Bank of Brazil. Huh?
Right.
Is that who she's running for? She just put some money in the bank.
Yeah, right.
Ask her how she feels about winning this very big race today.
¿Cómo se siente por haber ganado hoy?
Oh, muito feliz. É uma prova importante aqui na Flórida e eu fico feliz de ter ganho.
She said that she's very happy. She's very happy because this is a very important race here in Florida, and she's happy that she won.
Luis, ask her how much of a factor the wind was and how she dealt with it out in the course.
Dice que el factor del viento, si fue mucho difícil, ¿cómo fue durante el recorrido el viento?
Foi difícil para todas. Na ida foi muito veloz, mas depois começou aquela troca de uma fica atrás da outra e deu para chegar bem.
He said that it was a problem for everybody, that the beginning, in the way back there, it was very fast, and then after the turnaround, it was trading places, and then she felt good at the end.
She feels good now, too. Congratulations to Carmen and as well to Valdemar, the champions of the 1993 Gasparilla Distant Classic. Dick?
Biggest win of her career for Carmen de Oliveira, and a tremendous, tremendous win for the men. Baldonor dos Santos. We are 53 minutes and 15 seconds into the 1993 Gasparilla Distance Classic. We're coming to you live from Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa, Florida. In the Corporate Cup, because Channel 8 sponsors that, and the Corporate Cup in this race is a little bit unusual because it's one of about 5 races.
To get out there and run 9.3 miles.
Hard, but, you know, it really does. What it does is most people see each other